Hello students, this is Achal here. We are going to start today with 11 commerce statistics chapter number 1. I'm just sharing the PDF on the screen. So let us start students with chapter number 1 of statistics 11 standard GSEB. The first chapter, that is collection of data. Now what actually we are going to discuss in this lesson, you can just look at the content. We are going to discuss about origin and growth of statistics. We are going to discuss what is quantitative data, what is qualitative data, the meaning and difference thereof. Then we are going to discuss about primary and secondary data, its meaning and difference. Then also we are going to deal with method of collecting primary data, that how you can collect primary data. Then we are going to discuss secondary data also, the sources of secondary data and the precautions while using secondary data. You can just look at the origin and growth of statistics. So if you talk about the growth of statistics, its origin is very old. So it's of the time of modern empire, 321 to 296 BC. And the book N.A. Akbari, which was written by Abu Fazl during the Mughal Emperor Akbar time, it describes about the statistical system for administration and revenue system of the Mughal Empire. Right? Other things you can read, you will be able to understand. I'll directly move on to the topic of statistics. And before that, we will just discuss about the growth of statistics in India. It was founded by well-known Indian statistician P.C. Mahalanobis in 1931 at Kolkata. An institute, Indian Statistical Institute. It was founded by well-known Indian statistician P.C. Mahalanobis in 1931 at Kolkata. Now, basically, if I tell you what is statistics, statistics means data. Now, what is data? The figures, it can be figures, it can be any kind of information which you see that is called as statistics. Like if you read the newspaper, you might come across some figures like number of accidents during the whole month in the city, or it could be like the unemployment ratio in particular country. These all kind of data, that is called as statistics. Another example I will give you, which is very common, your results is also one kind of statistics, right? The report cards which you get after the exam, that is also one kind of statistics. Okay. Now, statistics is not just data or not just figures, but actually whatever figures are there, those figures are analyzed. When it is collected, it is analyzed, and then after whatever are the results or whatever inferences are inferred out of it, that is also included in statistics. So basically, when you collect the data, when you analyze it, and when you interpret something out of it, that is statistics. So here is the definition of statistics. Three things you have to remember. I'll just read the definition. Statistics is the science which deals with collection, analysis, and interpretation of numerical data. So here there are three things: collection, analysis, and interpretation. Why the term here numerical? Numerical data means anything which is related to figures in numbers. If something is listed, that is called as numerical data. Like in your results is also numerical data. Suppose I am having the result of 11th commerce section. There is only one section, suppose, in a school, and there are 50 students in 11 commerce class. So if I have the result of those 11 commerce students, that is also called statistics. Okay. So statistics, it is one kind of science, because when you talk about science, science means what? Which has got some logic. So statistics has also got some logic, right? You might have come across mean, median, mode. So that was also statistics. In 10th standard, 9th standard, you must have in mathematics subject, you must have calculated mean, median, mode. So that was statistics. So basically, what you were doing over there, you were analyzing the data, right? Same way like when you talk about ranking system or grade system, that is also called statistics. Like suppose grade is given to the students, A grade, B grade, A plus grade, B plus grade. So that is given based on some criteria. But how this grade can be given if you have the data, right? And if you analyze the data, let's suppose above 80% will get A grade, above 90% will get A plus grade. So that is the criteria. So that is statistics. So how you were able to grade that student? It was after analysis. There was some criteria, there was some parameter which you put. So that is statistics. Okay. So in statistics, you collect the data, you analyze the data, and then you interpret the numerical data. So that is statistics. Yes, it has got some logic, right? When you calculate mean, median, mode, you apply the formula, and it is logical thing, right? And maths is also one kind of science, you know. Statistics is nothing but maths. So statistics is the science which deals with collection, analysis, and interpretation of numerical data. Okay. Now, when you talk about statistics, its category can be of two types. One is quantitative data and another is qualitative data. Now, what is quantitative data and qualitative data? Quantitative data means the data which you can express in figures, in the form of figures, that is called as quantitative data. And the data which you cannot express in figures, in numbers, but still you collect the data, you do analysis of it, that is called qualitative data, right? We will just discuss the examples of it, and so that you will get clear. But before that, when you talk about statistics, it is very important to have the knowledge about population also. Now, we are not talking about that population of any country, but here the meaning of population in general, in terms of statistics, what is that? That when you study all the units, right? That is called the population. Say, for example, you want to study the standard of living of workers of a factory. So in that case, that whole lot is called a population, right? And whatever total number of units are covered in the population, it is called size of the population. So like in there is one factory, and in that factory there are total 150 workers, say for example. Okay, here it is given as 700 workers. You can take that example also. So suppose 700 workers are there in a factory. Then the size of the population is 700. Okay. And that whole 700 workers, they are called population. Okay. And it is denoted by N. Okay. So that is population. And as we can count it, okay, it is limited. So it is called a finite population. Okay. There is one another term that is called a sample. Now, what is sample? When you take out some group of units based on some criteria out of that population, that is called a sample. Okay, and it is denoted by small n. Okay, population is denoted by capital N, whereas sample is denoted by small n. So suppose we had 700 workers. We are taking 150 workers from this 700 workers by any statistical method. Then it is called sample. Okay. So it is also called a sample unit. Okay. Like it is not possible to study 700 workers, right? It would be quite expensive, time consuming also. So what we will do, we will just take out sample out of it, like 150 workers we will select, and we will study them. We will study the standard of living of those 150 workers only. Okay. So that is called as sample. Okay. Now there are two things, as I told you, bifurcation of data, quantitative data and qualitative data. Now, when you are able to uh, give number, or you which the you can count the data, right? Some attribute which you can count, that is called as quantitative data, right? If the variable characteristic is numerical, then it is called numerical variable. Okay. So like, say for example, income of the workers, that is a numerical data. Okay. Or quantitative data, which you can count, that is called numerical or quantitative data. And the attribute which you cannot count, right? You are collecting some information about the workers, right? So here, suppose the expenditure which the workers are doing. So those you are studying those 150 workers. So let's continue that example only. So if there are 150 workers and you are studying the standard of living of those workers. Now in that one parameter is like you have the information about expenditure they are doing, right? So now the expenditure done by worker, that is in numbers, right? You can calculate it. So that is a numerical data or quantitative data. Okay. But now suppose if you study the education level of those workers, that would be qualitative data. Okay. Because education of the worker cannot be given any number, right? It cannot be counted. So it is for qualitative data. Basically, we deal with quantitative data only in statistics so that we can make analysis. And of course, even we can even do analysis or interpretation out of qualitative data also. Based on some criteria, we can give number to those qualitative attributes, and based on that, you can do analysis interpretation out of it. Okay. So that was qualitative data and quantitative data. Now, there is another classification of data, that is primary data and secondary data. Now, this classification is based on how you collect the data or from where you collect the data. Okay. So based on that, as the name suggests, primary means first, right? Which comes first, that is called primary. Secondary, which is second. After primary, that is secondary. So as the name suggests, primary data means the data which is originally collected by some authorized agency or investigator for the first time are called primary data. I have just highlighted the PDF. Okay. Like the data which is collected by NSSO, right? That is called as primary data. The data relating to death rate and birth rate in India, which is published by Office of Registrar General of India, that is primary data. Okay. And what is secondary data then? When some investor or agency has already collected the data and you are using that data, that is called as secondary data. Okay. Like in you visit website, official website of the government, and you download the data from there and you use it for your project work. That is called secondary data. Or another example I will give you. There is some data which is given in the newspaper, right? You use that data from the newspaper and you carry your project work out of it. So that is secondary data. Okay. Now let's see The difference between primary data and secondary data. Primary data means which is obtained for the first time and it is original. That is primary data. Whereas secondary data is not original, but it is already collected by someone else and you are using it, reusing it. So that is secondary data. That is the first difference. What is the second difference? Primary data are collected from the units under inquiry. Direct inquiry is there and then after the data is collected, whereas secondary data is obtained from primary data. Primary data, basically it is in raw form. This difference is based on how the data is. Raw form means what? It is not classified, it is not tabulated. Right? It is just collected. And then after it is tabulated in proper form. Okay. Say for example, that we will continue that example only. We are collecting the data about standard of living of the 150 workers of the factory. We had drawn 150 workers out of 700 workers, right? So that 150 workers की जो information जो है आप collect कर रहे हो, that is usually in raw form. So there could be different things in that, like income of the workers, expenditure they are doing, education level, right? Number of family members, right? These are all information. Now, when you are collecting the data personally, जब आप उनसे information ले रहे हो, तो raw form में होगा generally, right? You will just write down the answer. It would not be properly classified or tabulated. Then after what you will do, वो 150 जो information 150 pages आपके पास आएंगे 150 workers के, you are going to tabulate it, you are going to classify it, right? That is classification and tabulation. So primary data, originally it is in raw form, then after it is classified and tabulated. Whereas if you are directly using that secondary data, right, वही information है जब आप use कर रहे हो, वो कंपनी ने अपनी वेबसाइट पे या अपने कोई पब्लिकेशन में या तो नोटिस बोर्ड पे वो इंफॉर्मेशन चिपकाई हुई है, तो आप जब उसको यूज कर रहे हो तो वो ऑलरेडी क्लासिफाइड टेबुलेटेड ही होगा. So secondary data generally they are classified and in tabulated form. Tabulated means made in table form. टेबल बनाया गया होगा कि name of the family members, education level, like that, column wise. Now, when you talk about time, money, and energy, these three things, I'll just highlight it. Money, time, and energy, all the three things are spent more in case of primary data, whereas in secondary data, the money, time, and energy are very less used, right? Because पैसे की बात करें तो आप डायरेक्टली वेबसाइट पे से जो है इंफॉर्मेशन ले सकते हो, जिसकी वजह से जो है आपका पैसा शायद फ्री भी हो सकता है, टाइम भी कम रहेगा आपका, राइट, बचेगा. मतलब डायरेक्टली डाउनलोड कर सकते हो या तो फिर कहीं से भी कॉपी पेस्ट कर सकते हो, और एनर्जी भी ऑफ कोर्स सेव होने वाली है. जबकि प्राइमरी डेटा में जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट कर रहा है वो इंसान का पैसा, टाइम और एनर्जी तीनों तीन यूज होने वाला है. Now, fifth difference is about reliability. Primary data, they are almost reliable because they are collected for the first time by the individuals and they have collected for their own interest. So they show keen interest in the information which they have collected. So in that case, they are reliable, right? But secondary data cannot be reliable or relevant. I will focus more on relevance point because when you are using secondary data, suppose I'm selecting the data using the data of these 150 workers for my project work, but my relevance cannot match with the data which is already collected. Suppose I want one thing which is not collected in the primary data. There is one parameter which I want for the workers. Say for example, income of other family member of the worker. There is some another unknown person, but that information is not collected in the primary data. So that is not relevant for me. So from relevance point of view, It is not useful because primary data was collected by the person for satisfying their own objectives. So they have met all their objectives. But when you talk about relevance point of mine as a student, that would not be matching with the primary data. So that is a disadvantage. Okay. Now, I hope primary data and secondary data is clear to you. Now, let's discuss about the methods of collecting primary data. Okay, how you can collect the primary data. So, based on the method, there is three classification. One is direct inquiry, another is indirect inquiry, and the third is method of questioning. Now, what is direct inquiry? As the name suggests, when any investigator, or the other name for that is enumerator, he visits personally to the field and collects necessary information, that is called as direct inquiry method. Right? Here example is given that if a person wants to collect data about condition of the farmers of Sanand Taluka of Ahmedabad district, he will go to Sanand Taluka, contact the farmers and obtain the data regarding their condition. So that is called as direct inquiry method. Here, another example I am not reading, you can read that. So that is called as direct inquiry method. So here basically personal visit is there. As the name suggests, you can look at the picture. Right, there is, you can have highlighted the person. He is called enumerator. He is collecting the information from the farmers, right? And he is jotting down the information. So that is called as direct inquiry. Now, let's see what advantages are there of this method. First is accuracy and reliability. You are very accurate and very reliable when you resort to this method. The reason being the person is himself is collecting the data. So it is very accurate and very reliable. Then second, there is face-to-face interview. You have seen in the picture, he is present. There is face-to-face conversation. So at that time, if any question, any doubt is there in the mind of the farmer, that can be solved easily. Okay, so proper answer you will get. Okay, because I consider this with the same situation, like this information is collected via telephone. So in that case, what will happen? Sometimes it could happen that आवाज नहीं आ रही ठीक से, right? या तो विश्वास नहीं हो रहा है कि ऑथेंटिक कॉल है तो पर्सनल इंफॉर्मेशन शेयर नहीं करेगा, जो यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम नहीं आना, राइट? नेक्स्ट एडवांटेज क्या है? इवन आपको दूसरी सप्लीमेंट्री इंफॉर्मेशन, सप्लीमेंट्री मीन्स जो मेन इंफॉर्मेशन को सपोर्ट करता है, दैट इंफॉर्मेशन ऑल्सो कैन बी रिसीव्ड बाय द एन्यूमरेटर, ओके, और द इंटरव्यूअर. इंटरव्यूअर का मतलब होता है जो इंटरव्यू ले रहा है, और इंटरव्यूवी मतलब जो इंटरव्यू दे रहा है. एंड दिस मेथड इज सुटेबल where the field of inquiry is limited. Suppose you have to contact just 10 to 15 farmers, 20 farmers or so. So where the field of inquiry is limited, you can count very easily on the fingers, right? It is very convenient method because accuracy and reliability is more. Why this method is not suitable for where the population is large? Again, I'm telling what is population, the number of units which you are studying. Here the farmers is called population. Okay, it could be sample also, right? If certain only few number of farmers you have taken. So where the field of inquiry is limited, this method is better. But if the size is large, then this method is not reliable because it will use your money, time, and energy, three things. What is the next advantage? Yes, trust factor, right? Sometimes what happens, the respondents means the people who are responding to our information. They are not willing to give indirect, they are not willing to give direct or indirect information of theirs because they have some doubt in their mind. They fear that there will be misuse of the information. But as you are present over there, face to face, in that case, they will have trust on you, faith on you that the information will not be misused. You will assure them, because of which you will get all the information which you want. So that is the advantage. What is the disadvantage? Let us see. This method will require more time because you have to personally visit each and every uh, respondent. So it will take more of your time. Okay. Second, this method is quite expensive. Yes, it is quite expensive, but obvious because you have to visit them personally. So जो persons को आप hire कर रहे हो, जो information collect कर रहा है, जो animator है, he is going to charge fees from you, right? Or salary from you, whatever remuneration you say. So ये ज़्यादा expensive method है. Next, very important. If your enumerators are untrained, this method is not at all useful. What are enumerators? जो information collect कर रहा है, right? He is called enumerator over here. The person is collecting information. तो आपके जो एन्यूमरेटर्स है या इंटरव्यूअर है, राइट, तो ये जो है या इन्वेस्टिगेटर, जो भी नाम बोलो आप, तो ये सब नाम जो है आप समझ लेना, राइट. यू कैन राइट डाउन विथ पेंसिल समवेयर ओवर इन योर टेक्स्ट बुक और वेरेवर यू वांट. एन्यूमरेटर, इन्वेस्टिगेटर, इंटरव्यूअर, दीज आर डिफरेंट नेम्स जो इन्फॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट कर रहा है. तो अगर आपके एन्यूमरेटर्स अनट्रेन हैं, उनको पता नहीं है कि कैसे इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट करनी है, तो लेस रिलायबल हो सकता है, राइट. Sometimes the attitude, the way they speak is also very important. So if they are untrained, they don't have a polite nature or convincing nature. In that case, less reliable information could be gathered. Okay, because it's not necessary that the respondent will give you true information. Right? अगर उसको विश्वास नहीं बैठ रहा है आपकी बातों पे से, तो वो आपको सही information नहीं देगा. So enumerators must be trained, otherwise this method is not at all useful. Okay. So that was about direct inquiry. Now let us study about indirect inquiry. Again, I will show you. Direct inquiry हमने खत्म किया है, अभी indirect inquiry पे आए हैं. Third method भी हम देखेंगे. Now what is indirect inquiry? Here indirect information is collected, means this method is useful when your direct source is not existing, or your direct inquiry is your field of direct inquiry is very large, so there is no time to have personal contact with them. Then the information which is to be collected is very complex, and the cost with the direct inquiry, कॉस्टिंग निकाला आपने तो देखा कि बहुत अनबेरेबल है, बहुत हाई प्राइस हो जा रही है. तो उस केस में भी आप जो है इनडायरेक्ट मेथड का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं, राइट. सो हियर द इंफॉर्मेशन इज ऑब्टेन्ड with the help of third party instead of the enumerators, right? Means हम वही एग्जांपल कंटिन्यू करेंगे. अ पर्सन इंटरेस्टेड इन गेटिंग द इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट कंडीशन ऑफ द फार्मर्स ऑफ साणंद तालुका approaches the talati of Sanand Taluka, who has the entire information of all the farmers in Sanand Taluka, and gets the information from instead of personally visiting each farm. So what is that? Here the talati of Sanand Taluka has got entire information about all the farmers, so you can visit him only, right? तलाटी को ही आप विजिट कर सकते. तलाटी जो तालुका का एक हेड पोजीशन पे होता है, तालुका के बारे में सारी इंफॉर्मेशन जो होती है तलाटी के पास होती है, तालुका लेवल पे तलाटी होते हैं, जैसे कॉरपोरेटर होते हैं सिटी में, तो मेयर होते हैं, सॉरी। तो उसी तरीके से तलाटी जो होता है तालुका लेवल पे इंफॉर्मेशन रखते हैं, तो उनके पास सारी इंफॉर्मेशन रहेगी। तो आप जब उनके पास से इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट कर रहे हो, तो वो हो जाएगा आपका इनडायरेक्ट मैथड। क्लियर? सेकेंड एग्जाम्पल मैं रीड नहीं करवा रहा हूँ, ठीक है, यू कैन रीड दैट बाय योर ओन। Now, what are the advantages? Where the field of inquiry is very wide, then in that case, you can collect the information by this method. Second, when the respondent is not willing to give information, right? Farmers लोग जो है वो थोड़े अकड़ू है, इंफॉर्मेशन देने के लिए रेडी नहीं है, तो आप जो है अ, तलाटी के पास पहुंच जाओ, उनके पास से इंफॉर्मेशन मिल जाएगी फार्मर्स की। दूसरा, लेस कॉस्ट टाइम एंड एनर्जी एज कम्पेयर टू डायरेक्ट मेथड, वो ऑलरेडी मैंने आपको समझाया। देन this method is useful for various departments of the government to collect various types of information. Right? So because हमको बहुत सारी information collect करनी है, तो इसलिए। And what are the disadvantages? Yes, very important. Sometimes when you collect information by this method, people will have prejudice or bias attitude. What is bias attitude? Not a balanced attitude. Rational नहीं होना, थोड़ा जो है एक तरफी होना, दैट इज बायसनेस और प्रिजुडाइज, राइट, फेवरेटिज्म टाइप। तो अगर ऐसा एटीट्यूड है, प्रिजुडाइज है, बायस एटीट्यूड है, तो इंफॉर्मेशन जो है लेस रिलायबल होगी, राइट। तो सपोज आप जो है तलाटी के पास से इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट कर रहे हो, बट वो थोड़ा प्रेजुडाइज है या बायस एटीट्यूड है, वो बोल रहा है कि मैं क्यों फार्मर मेरे तालुका में जो फार्मर्स है उनकी कंडीशन जो रियल है उसको क्यों मैं शोकेस करूँ, राइट। तो सपोज अगर ऐसा हुआ तो मैं काम नहीं बराबर कर रहा हूँ ऐसा लगेगा, राइट, एक तालुका लेवल। सो वो मिसलीडिंग इन्फॉर्मेशन भी दे सकता है, right? So in that case less reliable because डायरेक्ट इंक्वायरी नहीं कर रहा, तो इनडायरेक्ट, तो जो पर्सन आपको इन्फॉर्मेशन दे रहा है वो हो सकता है कि अपने बेनिफिट के लिए आपको रॉन्ग इन्फॉर्मेशन दे सकता है, राइट। The method becomes useless when the third party from whom the information obtained is dishonest, inefficient or unable to provide correct information. Yes, वही चीज कि अगर वो डिसऑनेस्ट है, इनएफिशिएंट है, उसके पास इतना नॉलेज नहीं है कि कैसे इंफॉर्मेशन देना है, राइट, या तो फिर उसके पास इंफॉर्मेशन है पता नहीं है उसको कि कहाँ पे इंफॉर्मेशन प्रॉपर तरीके से रखी है, और जो मिला, जो दो तीन चीजें मिली वो वही इंफॉर्मेशन आपको दे दिया, तो उस केस में ये प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है। Yeah. So we have discussed this method also. Now let us see the third method, that is method of questionnaire. Questionnaire आया क्वेश्चन जैसे, तो क्वेश्चन मतलब जिसमें क्वेश्चन होगा, right? So here basically a list of logically arranged questions will be there, right? And the respondent is going to provide answers against that. Space will be provided for the answer, right? And the list of questions prepared in such a way that is called as questionnaire, right? So this method is uh, useful when the questions are very short and simple, so that वो फटाफट आंसर दे सकते हैं। Otherwise, what will happen? He will feel bored. If big answers are to be given, then he may not fill it properly, or he may leave some questions. He will not give answers because he will feel bored, right? So in that case, the questions which you are using, that must be short and sweet, right? Now there are two ways under this method. Again, two ways. One is by post, one is by enumerators, right? By post means what? आप जो है मेल पोस्ट करोगे, राइट, लेटर पोस्ट करोगे जिसमें क्वेश्चन होंगे, तो क्वेश्चन का आंसर देने के बाद वो जो है रिस्पोंडेंट आपको वापस मेल बैक करेगा, राइट। paper mail I'm talking about. It can be email also, right? Nowadays we are living in modern world, modern technology, so it could be an email also. And second is by enumerators. Personally, the enumerators will go, they will go with the questionnaire and they will fill the fill out the answers by asking the questions. Now, whenever you are preparing the questionnaire, right? Questionnaire means जो क्वेश्चंस कंटेंट करने वाला है, जो आपका इंफॉर्मेशन का जो ऑब्जेक्टिव है इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट करने का, उसके बेस पे आप क्वेश्चनर प्रिपेयर करने वाले हैं। तो एक आइडियल क्वेश्चन कैसा होना चाहिए? आइडियल मतलब परफेक्ट, राइट? एग्जाम्पलीफाइंग। सो फर्स्ट you should have cover letter or appropriate title so that the reader will have clear idea about that what is the purpose of your study, because unless and until he is not clear about the purpose of the study, he will be reluctant to give the information, right? He would not be ready to give information. Then second, keep your number of questions minimum as far as possible. The fewer number of questions, the more good response you will get from the respondent. Because if long questions are there, he will feel discouraged, and at the end you will see he will feel bored, and at last some questions he will leave some of the questions also. Okay, there is no such rule, but you see, keep the number of questions as less as possible. You can also divide the question into various parts so that clarity of questions is ensured, right? अलग अलग पर्सनल इंफॉर्मेशन है, एजुकेशनल इंफॉर्मेशन है, तो ऐसे सेक्शंस लगा दो जिससे उसको पता चलेगा कि ये इंफॉर्मेशन मुझे देना है, right? Next, whatever questions you are putting in the questionnaire, that should be consistent with the purpose of your inquiry, right? It should not happen that there are some questions which are irrelevant. So the questions which are irrelevant, which is of no use, just don't put those questions so that it will save time of the respondent also. Then question should be short, simple, and understandable. They should not be ambiguous or dual in meaning. Ambiguous means confusing, right? Like you put one question, are you educated? Right? So what kind of question you are posing? Like you mean to ask that is, have you passed secondary level, higher secondary level, or graduate? Right? So instead of that, put a question like, what is your education level? Don't put the question like, are you educated? Right? So like that. So here you can put these kind of options up to primary, up to secondary, up to higher secondary, up to graduate, uneducated. So he will take appropriately. So if he is graduate, he will take D option. If he has not gone to college, so he will take up to higher secondary. Likewise, okay. So जिसका आंसर स्पेसिफिक हो वैसे क्वेश्चंस आपको फ्रेम करने हैं। जो जो कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट हो वैसे क्वेश्चंस जो है नहीं रखने, बिकॉज उसका फ्रस्ट्रेशन लेवल बढ़ जाएगा। Then the arrangement, very important. It should be very logical, right? Like the order can be, what is the opinion about smartphone? What is your opinion about smartphone? Second, do you use smartphone? Now, this is very improper arrangement of the question, right? Like the correct order is question B followed by question A, right? So means पहले आपको ये पूछना है कि do you use smartphone, and then question डॉट, okay, what is your opinion about the smartphone, right? तो पहले ही आप ओपिनियन जो है, अगर वो स्मार्टफोन यूज ही नहीं कर रहा है तो फिर वो जो है ओपिनियन कैसे दे पाएगा, राइट? So that is the thing. Now, next, questions of sensitive nature or personal life should be avoided, right? Like questions of about marital status, right? This is a personal kind of thing. Someone might not be interested to give information about marital status. So that kind of information can be ignored if not required, right? Like other information like income of the respondent, etc. Okay, so अगर आपका जो है ऑब्जेक्टिव कुछ दूसरा है, तो उस केस में आप सपोज आप प्रोडक्ट सर्वे कर रहे हो, प्रोडक्ट के बारे में प्रेफरेंस इसका सर्वे कर रहे हो कि लोगों को कैसे प्रोडक्ट, वो आप सोप कंपनी के बारे में सर्वे कर रहे हो, तो उसमें इनकम का अगर इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं जरूरत है, मैरिटल स्टेटस की नहीं जरूरत है, तो यू कैन अवॉइड सच क्वेश्चंस. ओके. एंड इफ such questions are necessary, then assurance must be given to the respondent that your information will be kept very secret. Okay, that will be leaked. Then the answers to the question should be free from any calculations. Like, what is the average income of the earning members of your family? Now, every people might not be knowing how to calculate mean or average. So about those kind of questions, or and it is sometimes not easy without a calculator to calculate average income. Next, the questions which you are putting in the questionnaire should be of yes or no type or multiple alternatives type. Okay, yes no का होना चाहिए, MCQ वाला होना चाहिए. So it is very convenient for the respondent to answer. Okay, like, what is your opinion about the semester system against the yearly system in the education? This kind of question is there. Okay, that whether you prefer semester system or year-wise system. So their options you have given: strongly in favor, neutral, against, and strongly against. So you can see the order. First is positive, and the last is negative. Means you are against uh, the semester system, right? So if you are in favor of semester system, A, very ज्यादा फेवर है तो ए सिलेक्ट करोगे, थोड़े फेवर में हो तो बी, अगर आप पता ही नहीं है, दोनों के बीच में डिसाइड ही नहीं कर सकते, तो न्यूट्रल, दैट इज सी. डी मतलब आप अगेंस्ट में हो, एंड ई मतलब यू आर वेरी मच अगेंस्ट फॉर द सेमेस्टर सिस्टम एज अगेंस्ट ईयरली सिस्टम. ओके. So here, and also minimum number of questions should be there, right? Here you can see one specimen questionnaire is given. A specimen questionnaire for collecting information of the study habits of 12th standard students of Gujarat state. सी क्वेश्चन वन हमने देखा था कि टाइटल प्रॉपर होना चाहिए, तो यहाँ पे है जिससे पता चलेगा कि ये क्वेश्चन है किस लिए बनाया गया है, किस लिए इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट करी जा रही है. सो इट विल प्रोवाइड a clarity to the respondent that for what purpose the questions are being asked to me, so that you will have trust on the enumerator. So study habits में name of the student, gender, that is male or female, place, village, district. So here you can see MCQ tick kind of questions are there, full time, and very short answers are there, right? So you just read these questions, you will be able to understand that it is very easy to answer. Like, how much time do you spend for entertainment? So it is very short and simple, 2 hours. Now this kind of question is not there. Like, where do you spend the time for entertainment, or what are your entertainment habits? So if it is not required, because it is a long answer and descriptive answer, so it will take time. So instead of that, how much time do you spend for entertainment? So that we will understand whether he is spending 1 or 2 or whatever. Okay. So that was questionnaire. Okay. Now questionnaire by post. Okay. This topic we will discuss in the next session. Okay. And most probably in the next video, I'll be able to complete this lesson. Thank you, and hope you enjoyed the video. So please don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. Thank you and have a good day.